So I'm slowly cooling down the transfer station. You don't want the level of the nitrogen to be much higher than the silver portion. This nitrogen is going to boil twice. The first boil is pretty small, and the second boil is much more dramatic. And after the second boil, the nitrogen will... that means that the whole transfer station has cooled down to liquid nitrogen temperatures. You have to constantly be refilling it because it boils off quite rapidly. Alright, that's the first boil. And that is the second boil. Now after the second boil, you can notice that it's nearly like water. It doesn't boil much anymore. That's ideal. That's the way we want it. Alright. Now to exchange the holder, we want to make sure a few things first. One, we want to make sure that this switch is down to air. We want to make sure the stage is neutral. In order to do that, you double click on the stage neutral button here. We want to make sure the beam is off. When it says beam ready, when it's gray, that means the beam is off. If it was green, the beam would be on. So in order to exchange the holder, what I'm going to do first is pull directly out. Always wear gloves, by the way, when you do this. So I'm going to pull directly out and come to a stop. Now I'm going to rotate 45 degrees. Now pull out just slightly. See, it wasn't very much. Now I'm going to rotate the rest of the 90 degrees. It's always good to have some sort of device to catch your nitrogen in so it doesn't pour all over the floor. Now I'm waiting. I'm going to wait at this position for about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, because we're waiting right here for V21, which is green. I'm waiting for that to turn black. Okay, so that just turned black. So now I can pull out the rest of the way. And put it in the already cooled down cryo holder. One important step is we always want nitrogen to be in here, so we need a refill with nitrogen. So the first thing that we want to do is remove the existing clip ring and grid from the end of the cryo holder. So I'm going to pre-cool the clip ring tool and a pair of tweezers. Just double check always the tip to make sure that they're straight. Sometimes they're slightly bent. So we're going to let those cool off in the liquid nitrogen bath. Now that they're cooled, I'm going to first pick up the clip ring. So I rotate my clip ring around, my clip ring tool around, and rotate clockwise to screw on the clip ring onto the end of the tool. And put the clip ring back in the nitrogen. Now I'm going to pick up the old grid with a pair of tweezers. It's okay to damage it unless you're going to recover it. You're not going to reuse it again. And we're going to throw this away in the trash. These have already been in nitrogen and then out. They're all frosted, so we don't want to put them back in the nitrogen. So we're going to get a new pair of tweezers. Make sure the tip is straight and cool those off. And now it's time for me to put in my grid into the end of the cryo holder. Alright, my tweezers are cooled off. So I'm going to rotate around and pick up my grid out of the button and place it at the very tip of the cryo holder. Then take my tweezers and gently, without trying to touch the grid, without touching the center of the grid, just touching the frame, center the grid in the circle. Now that's centered, I'm going to rotate around and place my clip ring down straight, and you'll hear it click. Once you hear that click, now you're going to rotate counterclockwise to unscrew the clip ring off of the clip ring tool. Now switch your clip ring tool around and let the other side cool off. I normally add more nitrogen at this point just to keep everything cool. You don't want your nitrogen level to be much higher than the silver frame. Alright, now that the bottom's cooled off, I flip around and I just press on the clip ring to make sure that it's nice and secure and in place. Once you're done with that, you can recover your other grids. In my case, I do not have any more grids, so I'm just going to take my holder out. Alright, so now we're ready to put the holder into the microscope. Pull directly back. Be careful not to hit the tip on anything. You don't want to damage the tip. Put the holder straight forward, and now we're going to match this pin up with this notch. Push all the way in. You're going to hear 2 pumps. 1, 2. Now I'm going to switch from air to pump. Go out and up. And now I'm going to wait for a gurgle sound. Alright, we hear that sound. Now it's okay to let go of the cryo holder. What I'm waiting for now I'm waiting for this light to turn green, and I'm also waiting for this vacuum status here on the computer where it says specimen. I'm waiting for this evac to say evac ready, just like the other ones. We want it to say evac ready. It will say evac ready when the pressure is down to about 34 microamps. Okay, now that the green light is on, I can continue with the rest of putting the cryo holder into the microscope. I'm going to rotate it at a 45-degree angle, and the microscope is going to pull the holder in just a tad. The one thing to note is you always want to have full control over the cryo holder. You don't want to let it slam in. So while I'm rotating, I'm also putting negative resistance onto the holder. So I'm going to rotate, and you barely saw it go in just a tad. Now I'm going to rotate the rest of the 90 degrees and go all the way in. The whole time I have control of how fast it's going to go in. And we need to refill the liquid nitrogen. And I need to switch the switch back down to air. And you're done. We need to switch this back down to air. So pull out, then back down. and that's the end of the transfer process.